Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome in for our new GodKiller anthology series. These sessions will pretty much pick up from the last one ended, 200 or 300 years later, and we'll be able to see the effects from GodKiller to GodKiller as we go through this whole pantheon. I made 50 gods. We're going to try to get through all 50 of these gods by
Yeah.
Patch U next year, and then do the live finale at Patch U's, the goal. So we have a lot of one shots to get through. So who better to start us off than Diana? Diana, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. If you don't know me already, I am Diana Faye, also known as Dianaoftherose. I'm a majority tabletop content creator who does short form, long form, and generally just advice on how to be better at playing games like D&D, Godkiller, anything really. It's very widely applied principles. I'm also a streamer, YouTuber, content creation consultant, model. I do literally everything under the sun. I do not have free time, uh, but my God, is it fun.
Hell yeah. And then obviously I am Paige, aka Pluto Cleric everywhere. I'm usually just here about 3 or 4 times a week. So we are going to just jump right into this. And it's about a couple hours worth of just improv. That's what God Killer is. If you haven't heard anything about God Killer, it's a one-on-one session where the player is as much of a GM as the GM is. So just dive right into it. The Enclave. It's seen better days. Thousands of years ago, some people called it a paradise before written history until the collapse. No one's really sure what happened, what caused all the famine and disease and natural disasters to ravage the land for decades to the point where mortal kind almost went extinct. And then the gods came. The three elder gods and their children descended to the enclave to use their domains to help rebuild the land and lived in harmony with mortal kind for centuries and centuries. But using that much power, diving that much into their domain, whether good, evil, or in between, these gods got a little corrupted. They enjoyed the attention, they enjoyed the entertainment of watching these mortals come and go, and almost the blink of an eye to them. Some of these gods mated with mortal kind, creating the first scions, who had mortal blood but still the powers of the gods, who then also were able to enter the celestial plane. Not all gods stay on the enclave. A lot come and go. Some have built mansions or domains in District Zero where the sign of the collapse first happened and most mortals cannot enter. But we jump forward. After decades of unrest, there's been an uptick in the lower and middle class with anti God sentiment because the gods favor the upper class. They rest in God's Isle in the center of the enclave and party and drink and make mortals fight in gladiator pits and whatever they can do to entertain themselves. And for decades, there's been an adventurers guild run by Ergo, the deity of adventure. And we pick up our story with one of Ergo's cardinals, the Cardinal of Navigation, a woman in her mid 40s, dark skin, kind of aged, very fit, in what looks like some type of sailor type suit. As we are on a ship at the docks with a dead parrot laying off to the side from her and standing over this character. Diana, why don't you head and describe your character for everyone?
Yeah, Adinia is a more mature sort of woman, a little bit on the older side. She's about 40 years old, but surprisingly lithe and surprisingly muscular. She's got this sort of like fur collar made of fox fur specifically, and a bunch of like leather gear. And she's built for almost every sort of weather. You can tell there's layers there. And right now she's a little bit bundled up against the cold at the sea. At her side, you can see that she's slowly walking towards her target, dragging a great sword behind her. And in her hands, you can see, or on her hands rather, are two leather gloves. handmade, hand stitched, with some symbols, it looks like, kind of in the webbing between the thumb and forefinger. She's got this silvery sort of hair that looks like it went silver before her time normally would be, and her boots are tall, not heeled or anything, perfectly functional actually. Traveler's shoes, well worn, maybe passed down to her. Looks like they've seen more use than even could be seen in 40 years. That clank against the deck of the ship.
Yeah, as you approach this woman, looking disheveled, kind of in shock at her pet next to her dead on the ship. You look around as we pan out a little bit from the scene. There's just crew members laying scattered, dead around the ship, but the dock itself is quiet as it's pitch black here at night. And as you get within probably like a foot of her, you can just hear like quiet sniffling and tears streaming down her face as she spits out some blood onto her chest as she tries to sit up.
Have you anything to say?
I mean, you're gonna kill me regardless, right? Isn't that why you're here? You really think you can go against a god?
I'll do it or die trying.
Just like your cousin.
Can I crush her parrot's body underneath my boot?
Yeah, you can. It's just sitting there. It's already dead. So yeah, you just step on it, and there's a loud crunching sound as blood and bone just scatter across her face.
Just like your bird.
She slowly raises the hand of a gun. You see her like can't even like aim, but she's just trying to point it up at you. This like
I just swat it away with the blade, the flat part of my greatsword, and I do my best to kind of disarm her a little bit, even though she's useless at this point.
yeah, that was all she had left on her. She pulled out her side. You hit it across. It bounces once, and you hear a plop as it lands in the water off the side of the ship.
Weak.
Yeah. Just kill me. Get it over with. I'm not telling you anything.
Oh, that's a mistake. Come on, you've been a pawn for so long to these gods. Why don't you spend your last moments with a change of pace, being my pawn for once?
Is that what you think you are? You think you're the other side of a board? Do you think you're a queen?
I don't think I'm a queen. I think I'm a usurper.
I think you're a fool.
Can I... Oh, man. I'm gonna drag her to the edge and
Drag her
just
to the
kind
edge
of
the
like...
boat?
Yeah, if I can.
She
And just by being 40
she
years old.
cannot resist right now. She's so fucked up.
With the leather kind of creaking beneath her knuckles, Adinia is just gonna grab her almost by the neck and just hold her over the edge of the ship.
Yeah, you drag her to the side and just lift her over the ship. You see a trail of blood just behind her as you drag her to the side. And you have her kind of off the gangplank with like just your hand on her throat and your sword in your other hand.
I've seen a lot of death in my time. Yours will be nothing but a blip on my fucking radar.
It's
Where
okay.
is he?
You'll follow soon enough. He's here. He's in the enclave. You're lucky enough in that. Who knows where he could be? He could be in God's Isle. He could be in his mansion. He could be in the Adventurers Guild. I'm sure you're familiar with that place by now.
I'm gonna tighten my grip a little bit, feeling. That's a lot of choices. I'm looking for something a little more specific.
So that's why you came for me. How did you find out?
Which part is she referring to there?
She's referring to her like status, like her abilities. You know what she's the cardinal of.
Interesting thing about being a cardinal of navigation is eventually all roads kind of lead to you if you follow them in the right direction. The maps, the compasses, the logs at the Adventurers Guild. Everyone comes to see you eventually. It was only a matter of time before I showed up at your door.
Well, If you want to be able to find him, you're gonna have to just kill me. Like I said, I gave you some ideas. I'm not his assistant.
Can I tell if she's lying? Like, is this like
Yeah,
fruitless endeavor?
let's look at the move sheet. Let's see what we got here.
Welcome in, audience. You're learning GodKiller alongside me.
Yeah, because you know me, the GM's totally memorized all the moves you can do with someone. Let's see. Let's go with feel someone out. I feel like that's the closest we can do.
All right.
So there's no roll for this.
Oh.
So there's two questions. When you try to fill out a person, place, or thing, say what you want clarity about, and answer a question. So you're trying to figure out like a beat on her right now. So there's two questions. You're going to choose one of these, and I'm going to answer the other. So you can either answer what feels welcoming on the surface with her, or what feels dark or unnerving when you peer deeper.
What feels okay?
So you choose to answer one of those questions. You tell me, and I'll answer the other.
Okay. I don't think anything feels welcoming on the surface. I feel like what feels dark or unnerving is whatever this undying servitude towards her patron is right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's the same thing I've seen several times before, where someone devotes themselves to a god or to a cause or whatever, and they lose themselves entirely in it. And it's shaking to see it happen to someone of this status and with this much power.
Yeah, makes sense. And what you see on the surface is you see her just trying to hold on to this strong facade. She's trying to be unshaken, but you can literally feel her trembling in your grasp as you hear her death rattles.
You're boring me. This could be over so quick. And I'm gonna toss her onto the deck of the ship and raise my greatsword and pierce it through her, if I can, at a certain angle, her collarbone or her shoulder or something, and pin her to the deck.
Okay. I feel like this is inflicting violence, so why don't you go ahead and roll 2d6 for me?
First roll, audience.
And you add 1 for each that's true. So they wish you harm. That is definitely true. You're desperate. I would say you are in this moment, and it's personal. It is yeah, so add 3 to the roll. So roll 2d6.
Okay. 11.
An 11 with the bonus?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on an overkill,
Oh no.
you lose yourself to righteous fury. So, in this moment, you go to stab her at her collarbone, but the ship is wet. And as you raise your greatsword, you kind of lose your footing, and you get her right in the side of her neck. And you see the blood starting to gush out onto the deck.
I'm gonna pretend to not be... Shit, no, I'll let go of my greatsword and just kind of like toss it to the side and then kind of grab her as best I can by her shoulders and lift her up and go, where is he?
She starts to weakly laugh, it sounds like. And she goes to talk, but with the blood loss already, you just hear like something bubble in and just blood. And she just like closes her eyes for a second and just spits blood in your face and then goes limp in your hands. So, you just killed a god, technically, because of the way we're doing cardinals. So you need to roll me a kill a god roll. So roll man. 2d6 flat.
That is... Oh no, it's a 5!
So, that curse that we created. So, you feel something deep and warm as this light pours off of this body into you. You feel this spark of divinity. And with almost complete certainty, you feel like you could find anything you ever want as you get this sense of direction from this priest, this cardinal. But you feel it start to burn hotter. And as you start to piece together like how to navigate the city better and all these routes, you forget how to make your way home. You have a place in the city, with your family, you can't for the life of you recall any memories of where you grew up. Like the people, sure, the activities, the location though, it's just like you're in a black background when you look in your mind.
Adinia kind of just like searches desperately the eyes of the cardinal for any last semblance of life, and then with a look of almost disgust, just kind of drops the body against the deck of the ship and just goes, "You're no better than the rest of us, dying for him." And she just kind of lifts her hands up, and her blood-splattered gloves at this point, they have the same stitchings, the same rune marks, one for every member of her immediate family that's fallen prey to Ergo's call. And she remembers them. She remembers growing up with them, playing with them, sitting with them at dinner tables. But she doesn't know where those tables are. She doesn't know where home is. She doesn't know where they lived, where she lived. And she just lets out a shaky breath and then starts to stalk over towards the bird on the deck.
Yeah, as you move over towards the bird, the weird thing about this bird is you heard that the cardinal's weak point was this bird. So you killed it, not really paying too much attention to it. But as you get near it, you see this ember start to flicker in its chest, and the bird starts to disintegrate into ash. Definitely not something a normal bird would do.
Is there anything left?
There is a small seed that feels the same type of defined energy that you are now radiating. It feels familiar.
I'm going to pick it up with a gloved hand, and then, if I can, I'm going to almost like unscrew the gem at the pommel of my greatsword. It's got not a lot of a hidden compartment inside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the equivalent of a you know those flasks that you can sneak into concerts by hiding them in tampon containers. It's like that rough volume, and and she slides this
God
in.
damn it, Diana.
I'm so sorry. Improv.
So yeah, you screw the seed into the hilt of your sword, and as you do, and you hear the click of the gem tightening back on the greatsword, the gem starts to glow, and as it does so, it widens and flattens, and now you see this green gemmed compass attached to the bottom of your greatsword that you feel inherently connected to.
I just kind of raise it up very easily with one hand. Again, this woman is like 40 years old, you know, and you can see that her eye crinkles kind of like deepen as she closes one eye and points it at the horizon and tries to figure out which direction to head next.
What are you trying to do in this moment? Are you going to try to find more information? Are you going to try to take a break before going back out there? Are you going straight for him now? Or are you going to kind of... What's the vibe? What are you looking for?
I think right now would be a good time to kind of assess the ship. Is there anyone else on here?
The only other bodies you see are the ones you killed making your way to her. So you don't see anyone. There's about like a crew. There's a crew of about 7. And you killed all 7 of them. You haven't gone below deck yet, though. So you could search the ship if you would like.
I think I'll, just start walking towards the stairs down, just feet clacking against the wet wood, and not even paying attention to the mortal bodies around her.
Sounds good. So you head down into the ship. See a lot of merchant goods. You do know that she was one of the top merchants going from the business capital of District 2 to God's Isle, back and forth, which is how she got Ergo's attention in the first place. She was the lead merchant of a particular type of alcohol that Ergo favors. The only reason she got powers was because the guy liked her drink. So you see crates and crates of this very old rum just scattered around. But as you go deeper and you come across her captain's quarters, where you see a desk with writing utensils, almost like correspondence. You see a very nice wardrobe of stuff that she has, as well as just random trinkets and stuff she's collected over her journeys.
Is there anything notable in the paperwork or amongst the trinkets?
I'm just really roll for this. I'm just going to roll with it. So, going through the trinkets, I mean, there's some stuff you haven't seen before because she goes to God Isle a lot and you've never been there. God's Isle costs 5 gold per travel to get there. It's free transit around the rest of the enclave, but to get to God's Isle, it's 5 gold, which most people don't have that much money just to do on a day trip. But yeah, you see little trinkets from there. You see like little inventions, what looks like some weird crystal light, what looks like some type of compass that she's collected, like different versions of this same compass. And then on her desk, as you're going through the correspondence, you do actually find a letter dated about 2 weeks ago from Ergo to her. The gist of the letter says that Ergo will be back at the Adventurers Guild for about a month, about 3 weeks from now. So you have about a few days at this point, probably till he arrives. It says that he's coming to try to figure out a new story for his book, see if he can inspire any new quests to try to get more adventurers out and about, because adventures have been kind of slow the last few months, and he said he was cooking up something very fun, and he put fun in very bolded letters on this letter, that he was going to surprise the Adventurers Guild with upon his arrival.
Do I know enough about Ergo to understand if this is common behavior for him to visit in person?
Usually, every time he visits in person, it's not a lot, as he's one of the elder gods. Doesn't have as much time, which is why he has the most cardinals. But the last time he visited was about 50 years ago, personally, and a third of the Adventurers Guild died.
Adina is going to kind of pick up the letter, and very visibly, as she reads it, her eyes are moving back and forth across the page, and her hand clenches around it. The paper gets more and more wrinkled as she goes on, and in the end, she just takes a gloved hand, wipes the blood-filled spit from her visage, and just like rubs it on the paper, tears it in half, and stomps on it. How far is the Adventurers Guild from me right now?
You are on the edge of District 2, near the docks. The Adventurers Guild sits on the border of District 0 and District 1, so you just have to move over one district. Pretty much the way the continent is, District 0 sits here. It's like a ring, pretty much, around, and then God's Isle sits in the center. So District 0 is here, and then clockwise around are the districts, up to District 3.
Okay. I'm going to start stomping my way up towards the top deck of the ship again. But on my way up, can I grab a bottle of the rum?
Yeah, you can grab as much of the rum as you want.
I think I'll just grab a single bottle and just kind of like inspect the label. Distinct look of disgust on my face.
Says 60% alcohol content, aged 80 years.
Oh, only 80. Wow, weak shit.
Yeah. And it doesn't have like a label of like a name, but it just has this very generic looking pirate character on the bottle.
Is it like a Kraken rum bottle where it's got those two little handles on the side, or is it just like a bottle?
It's more like rectangular kind of.
Oh, okay. All right. She'll almost disgustedly just kind of like tuck it into her bag for later and start to kind of stomp up towards the top of the ship, and very resignedly, since she only has a few days left, she's just gonna head back to, she doesn't know where her home is.
Yeah, where are you going?
She stops. She like gets to the top of the stairs and just kind of like blinks a couple times, like looks around, peers at the horizon, at her compass again as if it's gonna help her, but
yeah, you have no recollection. You don't even know what district you're from. You know you work out of the Adventurers Guild sometimes, but you don't know where you reside. With the transit system, you could live any of the districts, honestly, and get to work pretty quick.
she spends a significant amount of time like searching through her memory. Her eyes are darting between the handle of her sword and the sky, and she's trying to get some semblance of direction as if it's going to come from anywhere outside of her, but after about a solid 7 minutes of just hoping, she gives up, and her eyes steal again a little bit. She sets off towards the Adventurers Guild.
Okay, cool. So you head deeper into District 2 to get to the transit hub. Each of the districts have a central hub that connects to each of the other districts. District 2 is a business hub, so it's a little more put together than a lot of the other ones. There is merchant carts all around it. It's deep into the city, so there's like tall like work buildings surrounding it. You see a lot of people in like fancy suits and robes going to and fro. And as you approach the transit, you see it's pretty empty right now. Most people are here to work for the day. It's like early morning, just now starting to see the sun crest over. It seems like you were on this ship pretty much all night.
Yeah. I know I probably have things stored at my home, wherever that may be, which are ideally, realistically lost now. Do I have anything stored at the Adventurers Guild?
Let's see. Let me think of a roll for this. Go ahead and roll 2d6, and we'll treat it the same way. You need to roll a 7 to 9.
8.
Okay. What do you think you would have kept to the Adventurers Guild?
I imagine there would be almost the equivalent of like a go box or like some sort of like emergency stash, you know, a couple of bits of armor that are not her primary armor, you know, a little, not a great sword, but maybe a great axe instead, and then a spare pair of leather gloves that has never seen the light of day, and then some gold, maybe a trinket or two that she would have kept just like as a memory of some of her past compatriots, and maybe an amulet that her cousin owned. It's got the sigil of Ergo on the front.
Let's see how much gold you have.
Oh,
You have 30 gold pieces.
Hey, I can
which
get
is
to the
which is a lot of money.
Isle of the
you
Gods
could get
like
to the
6 times.
Yeah, you could travel there and back 6 times.
If I can, I will. Not knowing where else any of my worldly possessions are, I know what they are. There's a mental inventory in my head of my prized possessions. You know, the yield equivalent of photo albums. You know, trinkets from my family members. But given that I can't find any of those, I'll stick to the one trinket I have left of my cousin, and I'll head to the stash.
Yeah, the weirdest thing about the memory loss for you, you've had memories that you've suppressed. I mean, you've been in battle, you've done stuff like trauma, suppresses memories, makes it blurry. You remember your home. Like, you remember, like, doing activities and seeing people. It's just whenever you try to focus on the location of how to get there, where it's at, everything blurs to the point where you can't even recognize the area. You don't remember the address. You don't remember, like, where to get off to get there. Everything else about it you remember. But when you try to locate it, it's like something just throws bleach on your memories.
You can see her kind of like reach a gloved hand up towards her forehead as if she was having a severe, sudden headache out of nowhere, leaving like a streak of blood behind, but she just grits her teeth, takes off her gloves, and continues onward towards the only place that she knows exists at this point.
You head to the trains, and there's like a bunch of trains that head into the different districts from here. Without even, you go to look at the board, and before you even do, you immediately know which train to get on. It's almost calling to you as you just, I want to go to the Adventurers Guild. Boom, and immediately, like, your eyes connect to a train that just arrived. And you know that's the one you need.
Huh. I just kind of like look down at the pommel of my sword and raise an eyebrow a little bit.
The arrow and the sword is pointing straight to the train, too.
Well, she was useful for something. I'll do my best to board.
Okay, cool. Let's see if there's any fun on this. I'm going to roll the dice. That's a nat 1.
Audience, please clap.
So, you get onto the train, and you see a lot of, like, adventure and looking types. I mean, this is the train straight to the Adventurers Guild. You do recognize a couple people. You see this group of triplets that had entered right ahead of you. All about mid-30s, huge, like 6'6", tall, bald, bearded guys, like slightly tan skin, scarred. These are the Williams brothers. You do not like the Williams brothers. They have been on quests with you before. They are very impulsive. They have gotten people in the guild killed because they have rushed into situations that others who don't have their constitution were not able to handle. and they don't really care about other people, which is why most people don't work with them anymore. But you see, they're just like sitting in a corner, like kind of boistering loudly, already drinking at this time of the day, as they all have like full flask, and you just see them catch eyes with you. Well, Adinia, what are you doing here so early?
Same as you. Celebrating a kill, I'm sure.
You killed someone? I didn't know you had it in you still. You've been on an adventure in months.
Not all of us need to go on adventures every week or so in order to feel something. What's your next one? Where are you headed?
I don't know. We're going to see the quest board. I heard that it's being updated today because the old man's coming in like a day or two. So it means all the fun stuff's going to happen.
Sorry, you said how many times has Ergo visited?
The
So,
last,
would it have been within
the
our
last
lifetime?
time he visited was 50 years ago. So it would have been right before you guys were born.
Okay.
Your parents would have told you about it. But you've broken that veil. Even though your family talked positively about his visit and how great it was for the family, you remember the list of memorial names with your last name on that list.
Is the list somewhere memorialized, like, properly around the Adventurers Guild, or
The
solely
Adventure
the
Guild,
people?
yeah, the Adventurers Guild keeps track of all that have died in the line of duty.
Is it in a book? Or like a...
It is in the library section. There's like a whole section of the library dedicated to like past adventurers, and then has like a list of obituaries as well.
I'm just gonna kind of go over to them and then slam my hands on the table in front of them and lean over. And I go, whatever is gonna happen when the old man, as you call him, visits, I promise you it's not gonna be nearly as exciting as you think.
Man, you used to be fun. You used to have some real backbone to you.
And you used to have some code of ethics and maybe a personality.
I think we're doing just fine. If you want to, we'll save you one of the easy quests on there, so you can at least get paid. We'll be that generous. I'm sure there's like an escort mission or a protection gig you can do.
You better hope it's for you. And I'm gonna stand, straighten my spine, and start heading towards the stash.
Okay, cool. You go sit back down. Doesn't take super long to get there. These are like pretty much the equivalent of bullet trains. You get there like 10 minutes after you board, all the way to the border of District 0 and District 1. As the door chimes, Adventurers Guild, please wait for the doors to fully open before exiting the train.
I like shove a leather gloved hand through
Just
the
rip
crack
the door
and
open.
force it open.
You see the train go red for a second. You're like, oh, we are experiencing technical difficulties. Please remain while we resolve this. But you just storm out past the door as it's just already cracked open. But yeah, you head into not even really an area. This is like on the border of District 0, which District 0 is a wasteland pretty much. Only the gods are able to really reside there. But on the border, up ahead, you can already see it from the train itself, is this huge mansion of a building, where you see lots of people in robes with staves and swords and armor. Pretty much what you would think of a typical like fantasy adventurer. All that stuff's out here, mixed in with like some steampunk looking guys with guns and technology like that. Kind of a weird mix between like high fantasy and like modern steampunk. Kind of all congregated out front.
I'm gonna kind of just take a look around, and the disgust on her face that's been there ever since she killed, quote unquote, Father North, kind of fades away a little bit to just sorrow, almost pity. You can see that she's examining these people and watching them compare weaponry and armor and talking about themselves no longer as themselves, but instead as an extension of what they've done, what they own,
Mm-hmm.
their kill numbers. There's nothing left of who they actually are anymore.
Yeah.
She just shakes her head.
It's early in the morning. Everyone's gathering up for the quest day, and they are all just boisterous. They're trying to show why they should get the top quest, what they've done, how they've accomplished stuff. You do see a group further back, closer to like the sides of the building. Don't look as excited. They almost look resigned to be here.
Do I recognize them?
Yeah, there's some people you've been on adventures with, just scattered adventures that have, as you started to dive more into like the side effects of being a full time, pretty much mercenary, and the PTSD that comes with that. You recognize these people as like some of the help groups you looked into, some of the ones that you are suggested to go to from family members who aren't as shitty as some of your family is. And they look like they're here because, this is what their skill set is. It's not like they can go trade this for a business life or go farm after killing for a living for so long.
Can I kind of wander over and for a moment just have like more of a softened look to her? She's just gonna kind of give them a little nod.
Yeah, most of them just give you a nod back as they're kind of preparing themselves. They look like they're kind of just like hunched over, trying to motivate themselves. But one of the ladies comes near you. She's young, which being young in this game and already kind of messed up, she's gone through some shit. She's probably about mid 20s, long blonde hair, a scar running literally from her ear all the way across her face down over her jawline, and some scarring around her neck as well. She's about 5'8", kind of swimmer type build, and like a half robe, so it kind of like trails down from like the waist, and she has like a staff attached to her side. She approaches you and she says in kind of like a gravelly voice, "Oh, Adinia, are you here? Are you here for quest day?"
You could say that. I'm on a quest myself already, I'm afraid.
Oh,
Is
all
that what
right.
you're here for?
Yeah, we need to get the next job. We're hoping for it's quest day. They're hopefully more ahead of time than we can get now, so we can bank up as our little group here. So hoping for something easy.
Do I know how long this person has been in the game?
They joined right when they hit 18, so about 8 years.
Damn. I just kind of look at her with a look of
You
almost
actually
sorrow.
do know where the scar is from. Her first
I do.
mission, they were sent to take out something that was attacking livestock on the edge of District 2 where the farming is. Um, there was a den that they entered, tracing back the livestock and where they were taken to, and they stumbled on a drake den, and she was the only survivor of her group. But she got viciously like slashed across the face and throat, which is why her throat's so fucked up.
I think for the first time, usually Adini doesn't pay much attention to the younger folks. She's too busy historically focusing on her own missions, her family's missions, and things like that. But for the first time, she has an actual conversation. And her, again, expression softens and she just goes, "Is this really what you want? This is going to be your whole life, and your entire lifespan is going to be shortened by it."
What else can we do? This is all we've done. We're not skilled in anything else. We didn't go to university because none of us could afford it. We couldn't get job training. It's easier to just pick up a sword or a staff or whatever, and it pays well.
And sell your soul.
We don't have a choice, Dania. We don't have your family. Like, even if you wouldn't have adventured, your family would have taken care of you. We don't really have that option.
My family can't even take care of themselves. It's not true. I'm going to push past her
Mm-hmm.
and beeline it for the locket.
Yeah. Yeah, you head right in. People are still just waiting for them to announce quests, but you can head into the building and head right to your locker, get all your stuff. You can head to the obituaries if you want to look there. Wherever you want to head in here, you can go for.
I think at this point, I'm going to head to my stash and
Mm-hmm.
completely empty it out. At this point, it's almost as if she's moving out. She just takes a rucksack and stuffs it to the brim with old equipment, sharpening stones that haven't been used in forever, her training equipment. She's not super sentimental. There's no reason
Yeah.
to be. Can't be attached to too many things in this sort of field. But one of the few things that she does pull out quite slowly and quite tenderly is that little locket that belonged to her cousin. And she just kind of runs a finger over the engraving on the front of the holy symbol of Ergo. and then she takes the edge of her greatsword, which holding it awkwardly is incredibly difficult to do. It's almost like holding a giant pencil, like a comically large
Mm-hmm.
pencil, except leather hand gripped around the blade part of it. And she just draws a sharp line through the holy symbol in the gold.
Yeah.
Soft enough material, should be easy enough to do.
Yeah.
She just
Pretty
marks
easy.
it,
Yeah, and
and then she.
as you look up at the locker and you go to like clear your name information out as you would know to do, the only thing on the thing is your name. The address section has been completely. It looks like it was like erased really hard to where you can't even make out anything.
She just kind of like stares at it for a while, and she blinks a bunch of times as if trying to clear her vision. She like turns around
Yeah.
and then looks away and looks
You know,
back at
this
it.
was written in like permanent marker, and it looks like someone like dry erase marked it off, which shouldn't be possible.
She just. It's a locker, you said?
Yeah, it's like there's like little name tags you just put in to like put your information to reserve a locker. So
She's going to slam the door hard. So hard that it leaves a dent in the front.
yeah, rattles in this empty room as no one else has entered the building yet. It's just you here in the quiet. They're near the corridors where the locker rooms are. You're just sitting here alone.
She's just gonna kind of grip the cold metal of the locket and head back up and head to the obituary section of the library if she can and seek out specifically the book that has her cousin's name in it.
Okay, easy enough. You've definitely read this book quite a bit at this point, I would feel like. You head into the library, you head straight to the obituaries. The librarian's not even in here yet this early in the day. Um, and you scroll through to your last name. And you scroll through the various family members that have died in the line of duty. Until you get to a recent one that happened about a few years ago. You see your cousin's name.
I kind of like take a finger and trace it over the letters. The letters that say Lucas on it. And I kind of look around. You said the librarians aren't here?
Mm-mm. It's open to all adventurers, just the building's open, but like she hasn't started her shift yet.
I'm going to take the book and kind of rapidly flip through and glance over the rest of my family members that have died in line of
Mm-hmm.
service to Ergo, who have chased glory and riches and in the end just died out of their own sense of adventure, but a devotion to some cause that only 2% of people actually achieve. And there's entirely too many names there.
Yeah. And as you're scrolling
Jeez.
as you're scrolling through these names and you're scrolling through the personal information, the thing that stands out as you turn to each bio, each one of the addresses is gone as well. And this it's almost like it's in like the letters are like jumbled up in a way that's indecipherable. But yeah.
She spends a disproportionate amount of time trying to figure out what exactly they say. She like closes one eye and the other
Yeah.
and tries to trace the letters with her finger, but they keep moving around, and in the end, she just slams the book closed.
Yeah, every time you blink or glance away, the letters shift again. It's almost impossible to make out any sign of what it is trying to say.
It's okay. It's fine. And she just says it to absolutely no one. And instead, she looks around one more time just to make extra sure that there's no librarians around. And then she'll tuck the book away right next to the rum. And still, with the locket in one hand, it never left her palm, she's going to head back up towards the girl with the scar.
Yeah, you head back outside. You see everyone's kind of gathered a little more closely in the yard. You see they have set up some adventuring boards where they thought the quest will just magically appear. They've already started laying them out across the lawn. And as you exit the building and you go to like make your way over there, before you do, a loud gong goes off around the building, and like about 10 times. And coming out of the building is this gentleman who is in his late 80s. Very old guy, long beard, probably down to like middle of his chest, long flowing white hair, walking with a very gnarly cane that you don't think he could hold himself up with if he didn't have it. He and sits the build and kind of sits in a chair that's kind of centered in between all these boards. You know him as guild leader Devin. Gather round, gather round. I'm too old to be yelling at all of you, so quiet down, shut up, and grab a seat. Ergo will be along shortly, but he told me before he comes anywhere near here, he wants to pass out the quest now. The way this works is going to be a little different this year. You'll come up, you'll write your name on the board, and a quest will be given to you immediately. So we're going to start. I don't really know. He looks around. He's like, "Oh, group over there," and he points to the corner where the quiet group was. Send over your leader. And you see that same girl you talked to kind of shyly walk across as everyone is staring daggers at her, being the first one to receive a quest. She goes up. She writes the guild name, their group name, on the board, which is the Silent Wolves, and immediately gets a gold envelope, and her face pales completely. You know gold envelopes are like S-level missions. Like, you have a very low chance of survival. And the last time she had a gold mission was the one that killed her whole group and left her injured. So she grabs the letter and is like shaking as she makes eye contact with you and puts her head down and just shuffles back to the group. And as you see the rest of the group, they are also pale. A couple of them are just full out crying. You see the triplets off to the side laughing at them, but also like you hear them like, "Damn, they're gonna waste a good quest on those fucking losers." Whatever. Hope we get something decent left over. As you see, they just kind of brush through you to like make it to the front of the line, and they write the Williams brothers, and they also did a gold quest. And this goes on for a while. Every single person or group that enters their name on the board gets an S-level quest.
Oh.
This has never happened. Every single envelope is just bright gold.
Can I study the old guy's reaction to all of this? Does he know what's happening?
Give me
Oh
another one
no.
of those rolls. So it is... Oh, it's not a roll. It's, you want to know what feels on the surface, or do you want to know what's deeper for this guy?
I feel like I know what's on the surface. I feel like he's got this sense of composure about him, especially being 80 years old and having seen so many people take envelopes over the years, gold or otherwise. He is on the surface pretending like everything is normal and that this is standard procedure, but what's he actually thinking?
As you peer deeper, you look at him, and you kind of... After those first few, and a couple of the new adventurers getting letters, you've known Devin as a very kind old man, kind of treats you all as family. And as he sees these gold envelopes grow, he looks resigned and scared for everyone. Like he can't do anything to stop this. But he's resigned to trying to.
Okay. Can I catch the shoulder? Do I know, are there consequences if someone doesn't complete a quest, or is there like some soul
they're
contract?
kicked out of the guild completely and can never be returned, and they're kind of shunned.
Okay. Shunned from society or shunned from the guild?
Shunned from the guild specifically, but it's also a black mark for like anyone else. Like people rely on the Adventurers Guild to keep the enclave safe because there's a lot of fucked up shit from the collapse that's kind of around still.
I'm going to try and wade my way through the crowd and catch the girl with the scar from the Silent Wolves.
Adinia, you should probably go grab your quest. We gotta...
I'm not taking any envelopes, and you shouldn't either. And I'm gonna kind of like clasp her hand, almost as if giving her a handshake, you know, in the way that like really dickish businessmen do, where they clap another hand over someone's handshake, because that's like it's like the dominance move amongst straight white finance bros. And in one hand, I'm gonna have the locket.
God damn it! I've had a dude do that handshake to me before.
It fucking sucks, right? Audience, I'm so sorry for giving you finance bro PTSD. If you are a finance bro, I apologize, none. And I'm going to press the locket into her hand, and I'm just gonna go, just leave. I know you don't have the skills yet, but you can get them, get training, sell this, melt it down, do what you have to do. Don't end up like them. Don't end up like him.
Okay, we're gonna do one last move here before we take our break. We're gonna connect with someone.
Ah!
You get to either ask, or you get to answer, I should say. What common ground do you share with her, or what still divides you?
I think the common ground that we have is the fear of the future.
Hmm.
I know she's seen people die, I've seen people die, and we both know what happens over time. And it's a miracle that our leader there has survived to 80 years because we both
Hmm.
know that that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, and I think what still divides you is you look at her, that veil that you broke of like what all this really is, of like what it cost you. Even with her trauma, she still is a little naive. She still sees it, the Adventure Guild, in a golden light of like what they do is important. We need adventurers to survive. Like what I'm doing is important. It's worth the trauma because I'm doing something with my life that's important to me.
It's not that important. Nothing is this important.
Let's show everybody we have a quest to do. And she drops the locket at your feet and walks away. And that is where we're going to take our first break. So we will be back in about 10, 15 minutes or so. And we'll pick up where we left off.
Amazing.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We're gonna cut right back into the action. Um, I need a name for this girl. I'm gonna give her a name right now. Okay, as Luna walks away, dropping the locket at your feet, you see everyone's already kind of looking at their missions. Some people also looking kind of trepidatious because of like they're all kind of looking around each other and they're like, "This is weird, right? Like this is definitely weird, right?" Is they all have like these long quest logs. As they open the envelopes and the quest rolls out, those scrolls are like 2 feet long each. These are
Can I take a
legit.
peek at like what they're at about? Does it seem like
Yeah, I will
they're not all
say
pointing towards the
actually
same
the
thing, right?
closest one that you would be able to see would be the Williams trio, and theirs is to kill a giant up in District Zero, which is the god land that most mortals do not travel to. But it says there's a giant rampaging on the edge of the Ergo estate that they want them specifically to hunt down and kill.
I'm gonna reach down before leaving the area and just kind of like in the mud, grab out the locket and do my best to clear off the mud from the etchings. And if I look around, can I see the other scrolls and see if they also say the same area, the
Every
same
single one
District
is
Zero?
saying District Zero. Yeah, they're all telling them to go to the wastelands, which is not something that happens very often. It's like it's not a fully like eradicated area, but like mortals can't stay there for long periods of time. Like they have anyone that's going on an adventure, they're usually it's back within 2 days because it can get really bad for your health and have like long term effects that can slowly kill you.
I'm going to, lifting my eyes from the golden scrolls, just kind of like take another glance over at the 80-year-old man who was leading the guild and just try and read his expression from the last time. See if
Yeah,
there's
you see him as he's actually standing up to walk back in. You don't need to make it like a roll or any like do a question thing. You see him sigh deeply, and you see a line of tear go down his cheek. So he looks around at everyone gathered and does like one fond smile before nodding his head, kind of in reverence to everyone, and walks inside unnoticed by everyone, kind of fretting over their quest. It's almost like he's saying goodbye.
I'm going to quite rapidly like swing down my rucksack and pull out the obituary book that I had taken from the library.
Mm-hmm.
And as I pass the Williams trio, I'm going to almost like bully style, like slam it into the lead's chest.
Yeah, you hit Chad right in the center of his chest.
Is his name actually Chad?
Yes, of course it's Chad. Why wouldn't it be? I thought of the most douchebaggy name ever. If your name is Chad and you're watching this, I apologize.
It's like
But
Chad, Trevor, and fucking Travis. They all play football on the
I
weekends.
played one of those jockey like shitty characters before, and I named him Chad Brad Thad the Third.
I slam the book into his chest and I just lean in incredibly close to his ear. And anyone who was actually here would notice that Adenia's breath is sour. It's as if she has been up in for like a series of days. She hasn't eaten.
Mm-hmm.
The same sort of like terrible breath that you get when you're focused on something that is anything except self-care. And she just leans in and she goes, "You should study up. You'll be in one of these books in about 20 minutes if you aren't careful."
Okay, a little intense, Adinia. And so you grab your quest.
Not my style. Not anymore. I just push past them. But straight through the center of the trio.
Okay. Yeah, you just shoulder check these three huge men away, and they kind of back away like that girl's crazy type of mood. They're like, okay, we're gonna step away from this one. She's emotional. We're not into this. And they start walking away to go prepare for their quest. But yeah, where are you headed?
I am trying to decide if I should head into the Adventurers Guild and confront the 80-year-old man to see what he knows, if there's anything else I can help, or if I should just head straight for Ergo himself. And I
It's up
just
to
kind
you.
of like stare at the pommel of my greatsword a little bit. Trying not to be super obvious about it in this company that would do anything for glory, but
Yeah,
just
you
kind of take a look at
see
it.
the as you're thinking of those two different things you can do. You see this compass keeps moving. It points back into the guild hall where you know his office is, and then it points to the center of the enclave, as in someone is arriving at God's Isle right now.
I just shoot a disgusted glance over at the guild hall, and then I'll immediately start wading through the crowd as best I can. Not even like she takes maybe 2 steps of trying to gently push her way around these poor adventurers, and then after about 2 steps she gets impatient and just squares her shoulders and pushes through
Yeah.
them.
Why don't you roll me 2d6? We'll see how much information you pick off these people as you go by.
It was a 4.
Okay, so you'll see 4 different quests as you kind of just go through. You see one team of adventurers has been tasked to hunt down a dragon in the deep, deep part of District Zero, like all the way on the edge of the water. You're not even sure they can make the trip and not die itself. You see some for like gang activity on the border of 0 and 1, and you see one to clear out a den of manticores, which one manicore alone is an issue. A whole den of them is suicide. And it was given to a pair of twins to do alone. And they are like 20. And then you see the last one, you see this solo adventurer. You know them as like a powerful mage in like their mid-30s. They are tasked with fighting this automaton that got out of... let me see what that god's name was. Where's my technology god? I know I have one. This is me realizing I've created fucking a million gods. Prometheus's lair in District Zero has gotten loose, one of his creations, and it's rumored to be anti-magic, which is this dude's whole stick. Like, all these missions are suicide missions.
I'm gonna just take a look at the mage, and they remind me a lot of my cousin, of Lucas, and for a second... And for the first time, whoever's watching can see Adinia's breath kind of catch in her throat, and she looks sorrowful, almost desperate for just a half moment. But she shakes her head a little bit, snaps herself out of it. She looks as if she's about to reach, like hand outstretched, as if it's against her will, towards this person's shoulder, and she just drops it, and instead quickens her pace towards the guild hall, or towards the towards the new arrival.
Okay, so yeah, you head back to the train station, and once again you get that familiar feeling of what train you need to take as you see a golden train off to the side. No one seems to be using it. It's not like in a hurry to move, but you do see like a pay toll on the door.
I'll just take a look at it and drop in. Is it 5 gold?
5 gold.
Evenly.
Yeah,
Impatiently.
You clink the 5 gold in, and you see the doors chime this bright gold sound, like gold color with like this angelic sounding noise, and the doors open and you step in, and this is like full on like luxury style trains. Like there's a full bar, there's like not normal train seats, like lounges, and like there's even some beds in the corner in case you want to rest on your way into the city. The train itself starts to pick up. It says arrival in 15 minutes, and you see it go towards the edge of the water and go under and go deep into the ocean itself.
Oh. While it's traveling, Adinia's gonna pull out the bottle of rum from her bag, and she just inspects it and kind of like uncorks it and takes a sniff.
It smells great. It smells like almost like a spiced rum with, you smell a hint of raspberry?
I hate raspberries. And I'm going to take a swig of it, kind of like swirl it around with like the empty space left over by the swig, and then turn 180 degrees and just chuck it at the wall.
Yeah, you chuck it and it hits the wall behind the bar, and you just hear all these bottles just shatter as they all collapse to the ground behind the bar.
Then I'm gonna stroll over and very gently, very calmly, using these leather gloves as protection, pick through the glass and try and find the stem of the neck, I guess is the official term for those who are glass blowers or alcoholics in the audience, and pick up just the end part.
Well, alcoholics, we don't have any, especially in this game at all.
Not here. Not at all.
But
I'm gonna put away my Seven Peak Seltzer shirt and my raspberry blossom cider.
We have the 2 spectrums. We have drinks a lot.
We have
drinks a lot and doesn't drink at all. It's perfect. We're the full spectrum here. But yeah.
Man.
Anyway, yeah, you did. You did through the bottles, and you're easily able enough to
Audience
find.
hydrate if you haven't already.
Yes, you easily find a few different stems that you can grab from of some of like the
I'm
more.
gonna try and grab the one specifically for the rum that he likes.
Yeah, it's still there.
Shattered end if I can, and just kind of tuck it away.
Perfect.
Improvised weapon for later.
Yeah. Perfect.
Then I'll wait.
Yeah, there's no one else on the train. I mean, this train doesn't run a lot, especially from where you just left. And after about 15 minutes, you look up and you see through the windows what only could be described as paradise. It's a large metropolis, like on a tropical island, like trying to like rainforest type jungle around it. But you see the trains kind of cuts out of the water through the forest. You see tons of animal life that you've never seen before, but they look domesticated as they're not like surprised by the trains going back and forth. And as you approach the train station, you look up and just see this massive like wall that surrounds the city, and you see people in like the literal fanciest clothes that anyone should have, like the most lavish outfits, the most lavish accessories. You see you see a family with like a 5-year-old. This 5-year-old is fully decked out in like diamonds and gems and jewelry. You're pretty sure that kid's shoes is more than anything you own together at this point, especially with, losing most of your belongings. But yeah.
Yes. Do I get the sense that these are like actual people or projections or anything? Are they
These
genuinely
are
just so
actual
rich?
people. Yeah. This is the
Are
upper
they
class.
also
The top like 5% of the classism in the enclave lives here and does not really leave.
do I recognize any adventurers or maybe people related to people I know?
You don't think any adventurers can ever come here that often, especially today. Like, there's definitely going to be here. Maybe a few times, like the ones after a big job will come here. But you already see as you step off the train, people are kind of giving you a wide berth. Like, it's very easily recognizable that you're an adventurer. The worn armor, the giant weapon on your back, the scarring.
The horrific smell of someone who hasn't slept in days.
Yeah, they're
just trying
giving
to
you a
think what
wide
she's
berth.
doing.
You see a little kid go by and just like cover their nose, like not even try to hide it. They just like immediately like pinch their nose as they walk by you.
I roll initiative. Now I go and I'm going to seek out whatever might seem like, and obviously it's all some degree of holy ground here, but I'm going to try and find somewhere that's a little bit quiet, out of the way, and not as crowded.
Okay. Are you trying to look for like a specific god's area, or are you just trying to roam to like general temples?
I'm going to try and find somewhere that's specifically not a temple. Maybe if it has to be a graveyard, it can be, or somewhere where a dark alleyway, somewhere that's out of sight of the normal gods, and try and make an appeal to Talon.
Yeah, you head into the city. You go through the entrance. They don't really check you. They look at your adventure guild card, and that's enough for them to be like, oh, that's why you can afford to be here. Cool, go in, don't cause trouble, etc., etc. And as you get in, you move a little bit in the city, and yeah, you find some alleys to turn off into. But yeah, you said you want to call it to Talon. How are you trying to call it to them? There is actually a pray to a god move, actually. Pray for guidance. When you pray
We'll
for...
roll and then see how it works.
So this is their question move. So it says, name the aid you seek first, and then we're going to answer one of these questions. What kind of god answers your prayers, or what unclear omens or visions besiege you?
Okay. So I state... Oh, man. Okay.
What answers are you looking for? And then answer one of those two questions.
I think the aid I seek is not necessarily specific to Talon. At this point, she's so disillusioned with the concept of anyone bending to any god that she knows Talon would understand, but at the same time, if someone else comes along, she's fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of like takes the locket and in one hand grips it incredibly hard. And then she stops, loosens her grip, takes off her glove, kind of inspecting and running her hand over the thread that represents her cousin and the symbol of his name in her glove that's been embroidered in by hand. And she returns to squeezing the locket so hard in her palm that it almost draws blood. And then she says, I need help. This guild, everything it represents, it needs to stop. This isn't healthy. This isn't good. It's just nothing but bloodshed in the name of what glory, riches. 2% of people make it there, and they do so by clamoring upon the bodies of hundreds who don't make it. I need help. He needs to die.
Okay. So you say all that. What? I think you either answer, what kind of god answered the prayers, or what omens or visions do you receive?
I think any kind of god that would be the opposite of a god of adventure, which might be the god of rebellion, might be Talon, and that's what she expects, but at the same time,
If you
any
want,
sort of
if you
expectation.
want to answer the other one, I got a god in mind. So if you want to
Do
answer the
you?
other
Oh,
question,
hell
yeah,
yeah.
go for it.
Unclear omens or visions. I feel like she would kind of close her eyes and she would see. She looks down at the locket in her hand and she sees that it's started to like cut into her palm a little bit. You can't tell if it's her blood or Father North's blood, you know, the cardinal that she killed earlier that's still left over on her palms or across the glove, and or if it's maybe something else. Either way, it starts to kind of flood into the engraved symbol of Ergo that's on the front of the gold locket. And she can see, almost like in her mind's eye, herself bleeding out in his temple. Or is it him bleeding out of his temple? Maybe it's a mix of both blood. She can't tell. Someone dies, for sure. And it's either the end of her bloodline or the end of his reign.
Perfect. And as your vision clears, you feel a hand on your shoulder. And you look up into the face of Luna, the scarred woman that was part of the Adventurers Guild, who is also, Luna, the scion of virtue.
Oh! Okay!
And as you look into her face, like, you know for sure this is the angel of virtue, as her visage changes. Her outfit becomes like this long white toga. You see these two beautiful pairs of wings. So there's like two on each side. And you see the scar completely disappear to almost make her look. She almost looks porcelain with how pale her skin is. Like, she looks fragile in like an innocent, cute way. And her eyes just kind of widen. And you see her blink a few times. Like, oh, I knew we were close, but not enough to see through all that. Are you sure this is what you want to do?
I think for the first time in days, faced with this sort of the scion herself, Adinia kind of pauses. And then she goes, if it happens, if I kill the god of adventure, I can only guess as to the outcome. Is this gonna ruin human ambition? Are we doomed?
It's gonna have consequences. We don't just represent these domains, we are the literal embodiment of them. So, if you succeed in your quest and you kill Ergo, the loss of adventure could have tons of consequences. But it also sounds like he's lined up a lot of people to die today. It's not good either way. Only you can decide what you want to do.
The way he wields his power is unjust. He's marching people towards their deaths and abusing a system that is so strongly favored against the weak and the poor. It sends people into these frenzies, endeavoring to be something that is just impossible to achieve. And he knows it. It has to end.
Well, I know he arrived. Actually, I'm trying to see, who's her calendar? Oh, yeah, that's perfect. My grandfather is probably at the Colosseum. That's where he likes to arrive when he first gets to the God's Isle. It's not a full quest, he says, but it's, combat, so something he still likes to watch. I think he was heading over there with my dad, Galinar, so probably find him that direction. Maybe you can catch him after the show. It's going to be kind of hard to get him during the event. But I know he's probably heading to his temple afterwards. Just be careful. It's not going to be simple.
Nothing ever is. It's just another kind of golden scroll, isn't it? Golden envelope.
Yeah. I hope you're prepared for the consequences.
She kind of looks down at her ungloved hand. It's got these wrinkles across it. And in it, the locket sits there. And she just goes, I've suffered all the consequences that I possibly could at my age. There's not much left to lose. Okay. And I just hold the locket out to her. And I go, will you take my offering this time?
I can do you one better. I think you're going to need the extra motivation. She takes the locket for a second and puts it in between her hand. Like, doesn't take it out of your hand, kind of just, like, puts her hands over yours like this. And you see this golden light starts to shine, and the locket warms up. And as she removes her hand, the crest on the locket has been replaced by your family crest. Why don't you go ahead and open that up and remember what you're fighting for? And she disappears. And as you open the locket, you see a picture of you and your cousin when you were kids. Probably 6, 7 years old. Big, uneven smiles with teeth missing and scuff marks from fighting in the yard. Already kind of pseudo-training at that age. Just kind of roughhousing more than anything else. But you both just look happy and innocent.
Adinia stares at it for a solid while. She didn't think a photo like this existed, or a memory like that even existed. And even staring at it, like the background, the house in the background is a little bit blurry, but still she fights through it just enough to focus on Lucas's smile. And she just goes, I'm sorry, but this is for you. This vengeance is for you. She slams the locket shut. And then, steely-eyed, she raises her eyes towards the horizon and towards the Colosseum and starts heading that direction.
You look at the Colosseum, and you start to navigate from there to try to, like, figure out where he would be after, and your sword points in a direction. Not too far from the Colosseum is a temple. A large, gaudy temple made completely of gold. And as you're approaching it, you see a single figure enter the temple and close. You can't really get a glimpse of him because of how quick he enters. But he's about 6'2" and wearing a long, light traveler's cloak with over, like, heavy-duty armor. But he turns too quick for you to get an idea of him. But your compass points directly towards that door.
I just kind of look after where the stranger left. And eventually, I don't know. I think about it for a half second. Almost as if he's another adventurer I have to warn, or maybe someone else I have to fight, or maybe just someone who seems of import, but instead I have limited time. So I'm going to turn and enter the Colosseum.
Well, it's not the Colosseum. He went to his temple. But yeah.
I'm
follow him into the temple. You open the doors. And they shut behind you, and as they shut behind you, like, torches along this hallway, like, light up, and you see sitting at the end on a throne with a book in his one hand and holding a long sword in the other, kind of like against the side of the chair. Oh, young, I know your family. It'll come to me. Sorry, there's so many of you.
So many that you've killed.
Adinia, right?
Yes.
So many that I've killed. I just give opportunity.
An opportunity the same way that a mousetrap offers food.
I give an opportunity for you mortals to be somewhat on our level, to be immortalized forever in your quest for glory. And this, actually, in my book right here, and library records and stories and fables, that's the only really way you guys can ever, truly live on.
It's in memory, and not in actual life. You send us to our deaths far before our time, fighting and dying screaming. And you sit here, in a temple made of gold, watching?
Yeah. Your point?
My point is that your cardinal, Father North, died, as did his pet, as he did your pet, and I intend to make you suffer the same fate.
Interesting. You say you killed a cardinal, and you see him, like, his eyes glow gold as he looks at you, and you see, like, this phase, like, hazy outline around your body. I didn't know mortals could do that. Interesting. So you took his power for yourself. You think yourself worthy of a spark of my divinity? And you what? You're here to attack me? Force me to submission?
I don't want your divinity. I want your death.
You know you're not supposed to antagonize the game master, right?
I'm going to draw my greatsword.
Okay, you draw your weapon. He stands up, closes the book, and as he closes the book, roll me 2d6.
Holy fuck. Okay. I also want to point out the Skyrim music, like the Skyrim battle music came on in my headphones as you said that.
It's the specifically in this situation, it's the battle music when you fight the first Dragonborn. That's what's playing right now.
That's what I got. It's a 5.
Cool. I will say you're definitely desperate in this situation, and this is personal, so I will say it's a 7. So, as he closes the book, the compass on your sword lights up. And you feel a similar connection to that book as what the cardinal had to that bird. You know, no matter what, before you can take him out, the book has to go first.
Okay.
But he slowly approaches you as he just kind of casually walks down the thing. He like rips his cloak off, and this is like form-fitted plate mail. This is a very muscular guy, kind of in like, I would say kind of like Captain America build, like huge but not like overly so. But older gentleman, at least appearance wise. Who knows how old he really is? He looks like he's in his late 50s with salt and pepper hair and beard, and he just looks bored, like he doesn't see you. So this is just gonna end this and just go back to where he's reading. Like you interrupted his story time.
I'm gonna take the locket and really quickly just like fasten it around my neck. And then pick up my greatsword again and just charge straight at him.
Okay. Roll 2d6. I will say you get the full bonus, so it'll be +3 because you're definitely.
It's not good. It's a 5 on the dice, so +3 is an 8.
Okay, that's actually good. You wanted a 7 to 9.
Oh.
Okay, so what do you do as you charge at him?
I'm going to sprint forward, and knowing that he knows every move that every adventurer is taught through the guild, I am going to try and almost default to counterattacks, if that makes sense. Trying to turn every counterattack, every adventurer versus adventurer type like move that we're taught growing up into my main offensive and just swipe at his knees.
Yeah. You charge in, you do that feint and swipe at his knees, and he starts to try to attack you, and he's looks more and more confused as all his attacks are countered. And then he goes to like do a bat swing with the sword, and you duck under and just pummel him in the chin with the end of your blade, and he stumbles back and coughs up gold blood, surprised and a little angry.
Come on.
You made me bleed. It's never happened before. I don't like it.
All the fucking knowledge of the Adventurers Guild at your fingertips, and yet here you are. Pathetic.
I'm pathetic. I'm pathetic. Okay. Let's see how pathetic this is. And he is going to, let's see. I think it's still you have to roll. I'm just deciding what you want to roll for this. I'm going to say you're tempting fate.
Okay.
Roll 2d6. There's no ally helping you out. You have no other option. You're far from me. I'll say you get +1. Oh, you rolled 2 on the dice?
I rolled double ones. Snake eyes.
Okay.
My dice hate me.
So this specifically for tempt fate. That's what I wrote in his state. I was like, his powers would be like he's literally like a real life game master. That's what his powers would be. I did not
see that coming.
Yeah. But on a miss, the fates laugh at you. The GM describes how your plan implodes. He says that, and he pulls the book out and turns a couple pages. Let's at your locket. Turns a few more pages. Is this why you're here? And he pulls an image out and throws it down in front of you. And in full mage armor with staff is your cousin Lucas, and like a black and white image of him, like kind of faded away with resolute eyes. And as he raises his staff, you just feel a rush of ice shoot at you and pin you into the far wall. So go ahead and take your first point of harm.
Oh, man. Okay.
Or your first point of strain, I should say. Hello, cousin. You shouldn't be here. You should fall in line.
And you should be alive. Lucas.
Not. Maybe if you would have took this adventure more seriously, you could have been there to make sure I stayed alive. So we talked about growing up. We were supposed to protect each other. And you couldn't handle it? You walked away? Like that's a choice? You were my shield, cousin. Why do you think I fell?
Adinia is just staring at his ghost, and her eyes like briefly dart to the locket and then back up at him, but she's unable to take her eyes away from him. Now double ones.
You can walk away. It's not too late. You're just Adinia. You're used to failure.
There is no failure anymore. There never was. It's either success or death. It's the same for you as it was for me. And I'm going to... You said I'm pinned to the wall by ice spikes.
Mm-hmm. Right through each of your shoulders.
As best as I can, I am going to yank myself off of them forward.
Yeah, they are literally pierced the hole straight through. Like, not anywhere vital, but yeah, you kind of slide off these icicles. And you look at your shoulders and just big gaping wounds from, like, you can see through them to see the wall behind you.
And I just, with one injured shoulder, raise a greatsword and point it, leveling it the same way I was using the compass earlier at Lucas. And then lower the pommel a little bit and drop into a battle stance.
Okay. You're going to roll me because you specifically described your compass sword in a certain way. It's going to be will to power. You're going to will your divinity a little bit here. So roll 2d6, and let me read these statements. You've done the specific act before perfectly, so no. You are desperate for the sword. You can choose to be desperate for the sword and add 1, but it will mark a strain. I'll leave it up to you. Or you're close to a shrine, lair, or domain of the god you took this power from, which you are because this is one of his cardinals, so you get a plus from that. So you have 1. You could take 2 for a strain. So
I think she's desperate for it to work. I think she genuinely meant what she said when it's either you end in glory or you die
so
in
you're
obscurity.
At +2 to this roll, and you're definitely gonna. I mean, both your arms are fucking ripped at the shoulder, so it kind of made sense. Honestly, you're trying to swing your greatsword while your shoulders are like barely holding on.
I rolled a 7. So
7.
It's 9.
Perfect. So you do it
so
on a hit, so 9 you do it. Okay. So as you charge with your sword, the way your power activates as you get into battle with this image of your cousin, the navigation works in a weird way. You always know where to go, but you also know the exact locations to swing on this thing. As each time you dodge, you hit a different point on this image until eventually you slash one more time down the center and it shatters into ink and paper at your feet.
Adinia just stands over it, panting. And she looks down at the ink and paper, and she can see that it kind of like makes a splatter mark that looks roughly like Lucas's family crest. And she tears her eyes away from it and instead levels them at the god.
You actually see Ergo, like, looks pained from that story disintegrating in front of you. You see him, like, clutch his chest a little bit as he looks down at the book, kind of panicked. I guess everyone gets lucky. Was it nice? Did you enjoy your family reunion? It's one of my favorite stories. Overwhelmed, no protection, a mage against an automaton. My brother does have his gadgets.
Your brother is going to be next after this. And I do a, like, diving roll towards him and just lift to my feet and charge.
Sounds good. You can either do another attack. There is an option in this, by the way, which is called Unleash Your Divinity, which you can literally just take your divinity, it'll go dormant, but you can do 1 feat of your choosing.
Oh!
It's brief, it's obvious, and it's unstable. Or the side effects you get to choose from, but no matter what, it will pretty much you take control and tell me what happens.
Okay. I think if she has Awakened Divinity, she's going to charge her greatsword in hand and level it at him as if she's about to strike him. But instead, in the last second, she's going to, like, dip off to the left, drop her sword, pull out the jagged end of the rum bottle, and swipe it up towards the book and try and stab into the book, channeling her divinity through it if she can.
Okay. So what happens is you drop your sword and in the same motion take this bottle and you stab him in the back of the hand and the book flies in the air. And you look down at your weapon next to you as it's fallen and you see the compass shine and just rock it dead center and hit the spine of the book and pin it to the wall. And immediately the book starts to bleed ink. And he clutches his chest, heaving. How dare you?
It's nothing you haven't seen before. Death, I'm sure, comes naturally to you.
You're not gonna survive this. You think if you can kill me, you're gonna walk out of the city? It's not too late. You can apologize. You can grovel.
I think back to Luna, and I just kind of like, I stare down at him, and I just go, I'm gonna offer you a deal. Because the way I see it, I might not walk out of this city if I kill you, but neither will you. And you've currently sent an entire army's worth of adventurers to their deaths. How about you send them to the bright future that you've been promising them this whole time? Why don't you make good on that? Distribute your wealth, give them the riches that they deserve after all these years of servitude, and change your ways. Become an actual fucking leader, as opposed to an executor. Do that, and I'll let you live.
I'm gonna make a roll. You tell me, odds or evens?
Oh, man! Evens, because she's getting even.
I rolled a 15.
Fuck! 15 on 2d6? What's a d20?
I have some d20s just for random rolls. 'Cause
Aw.
I don't always just use what's in the game when I roll games.
I was like, guys, you heard it here first. Pluto Cleric cheats?
I do. Sorry. That's how I'm so good. Um, he looks at you and he's like, there is nothing promised. Their names get immortalized in my stories. They get to be part of the adventure.
They get immortalized in obituaries. They get immortalized like this, and she like tears the locket away from her chest and holds it up in front of him, inches away from his face.
You mortals die so soon anyway. Isn't it better to go out in a blaze of glory? Isn't it better to accomplish something? Would you rather your family just wear suits and go to a job in and out every day? Or you could fight for adventure, for glory. I've given that to you all.
You've given us a twisted, corrupted seed of greed. You want to tell me if it's better to die in glory than to die in obscurity? Find out for yourself. And I'm going to take my greatsword and stab him through the chest if I can.
Yeah, and as you look at him, it's very easy to figure out what his downfall was. Because it was very obvious in this fight. This dude's scared of conflict. Which is why he sends so many people to deal with stuff for him. And as you see that flicker of fear behind his eyes, we're going to have you roll Kill a God.
Which is 2d6 and then...
Roll 2d6.
8 on the die.
Okay. On a hit, they seize something vital from you as well. Name what vital part of yourself you lose while you kill him. What aspect of your personality, of your beliefs, or something that's very important to your core being as Adinia. What do you lose in this moment?
I think she loses herself at this point. She falls completely prey to her own flaw, this like tunnel vision that she's always had, this like pursuit of glory that she was raised on, being a part of the Adventurers Guild and being part of an adventurers family for so long. She sees finally that like even though she's killing the god of adventure in front of her, and even though she's still technically gone on a quest this whole time, the end goal is still something that she falls prey to. She's still an adventurer in the end. It's just she's the last of her kind, if all goes well.
Perfect. And as he drops, gasping out, and starts to disintegrate, you feel this energy fill you. Because you truly are the last adventurer. Because that last divine spark of adventure that he has enters your body. After you kill Ergo, the years that follow, the Adventuring Guild still happens. There's no more gold letters. No more silver letters even. It becomes a lot of escorts, bodyguard protection, pretty much glorified cops, if I'm honest. It's a lot simpler of a job, as there's nothing that can't be handled by a single adventurer if they're on their own. The jobs are definitely more scaled to their levels. And you said you're in your mid-40s, so say you probably live to about your 80s because of your lifestyle. About 40, 45 years later, when Adinia finally passes away, still never finding her way home. And you pass, and those sparks of divinity are released on the enclave. The Adventurers Guild, within the next few years, shuts down. No one trains to be a mercenary anymore. No one has a desire to go on a quest. People fall more in line with the status quo. There's not a seek for ambition or adventure or to like change your life with some grand gesture. The business sector surges. Farm outcrops and stuff increase. Even the upper class, they see a boon in the economy. Everything goes well. if not a little more boring. And as Adinia passes and the years go by, there's a legend of someone who killed a god, who stopped a mad god's quest for stories, for excitement, saved the lives of many. And a lot of those people that were in that guild hall when they got those gold envelopes now give prayers and offerings to Adinia, the first god killer. And that is where we are going to end our first session of God Killer Generations. So this was great. I think me and Dinah's going to go like unwind after that. That was heavy shit.
That was good.
It was so good though. But yeah, this is the first of a 50 anthology series of one-shots. The next one will pick up a few centuries later, and we will see this new world and the effects that have been left behind by Adinia and the death of Ergo. Our next sessions, our other sessions are recorded. Diana was the lucky one to get to do this live for our first episode. I will be pre-recording 4 episodes this month. The idea is to pick a day of the week, and then starting the first week of January, we will start airing these every week. This episode will go up on the VOD on my YouTube channel, or they're on Saturday or Sunday, so keep an eye on the socials for that. But beyond that, thanks for joining me, Diana. This was fun.
Thank you. This was great. I love playing out the concept
I've been wanting
of
to play
content
this.
creator burnout as a metaphor.
I've been wanting to play this game for so long, so this was a great first session. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's everything, and you guys have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.